My name is Ellen Whiteman, and I am the manager of the McDowell Foundation. I'm very excited you were able to join us tonight for this presentation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think we're going to learn a lot. Welcome to our online Salon series presentations. I'm happy many of you have signed on tonight to hear. I want to welcome you on behalf of the McDowell Foundation. The foundation funds teacher-led research in the province, such as the project we're going to share with you tonight. And I just want to start by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory, traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis. At least that's where I am. I recognize the importance of knowledge, truth, reconciliation as key components of our work. And I appreciate and honor the relationship with one another and with the land that allows us to continue to work towards reconciliation. I know we have people joining from other territories, and I hope you take a moment to consider your own relationship with the land and the people who live, work, and play there. I just want to turn it over. Scott, are you on? I'm going to turn it over to Scott now to bring a greeting from the Prairie Spirit Teachers Association.
Hi, good evening. My name is Scott Woods-Fair, and I'm the local association president for Prairie Spirit Teachers Association. I want to start by thanking Ellen and the McDowell Foundation for inviting me to bring greetings on behalf of the PSTA and allowing me to introduce Denise Hepner and Tirza Realkoff, two teachers from Prairie Spirit. As a self-identified nerd, I love to find ways to incorporate technology into my instruction and help students learn to view and use technology as a powerful tool that's become almost a nearly essential tool in our daily lives. I'm sure you've read the description of Denise and Tirza's research project and wondered why I'm talking about technology. But as technology becomes more and more present in our daily lives, it's exciting to see teachers in my school division look for ways to bring students and their learning into nature. Tonight, you'll hear how COVID and the idea of finding ways to take students out into the fresh air evolved from outdoor playing and storytelling to a grant from the McDowell Foundation that allowed Denise and Tirza to explore resources, co-plan, and ask what happens when you try to be intentional in your outdoor learning opportunities. Thank you for joining us here tonight, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate you coming and representing the local association and sharing in this work. So now I'm going to turn it over to Nicole. Nicole is one of the Associate Executive Directors of STFPL, and she has kindly agreed to moderate tonight. So I'm going to let her go ahead and welcome the research team and get things rolling.
Thanks, Ellen. And thank you to everybody who has come tonight. This is some exciting work. There's a lot. The whole concept of forest schools, outdoor education is really expanding in Saskatchewan, and I'm happy to know that it is. So I'd like to welcome, first of all, of course, as Scott said, our two researchers, Tirza and Denise, who are going to first talk a little bit about their video. And once the video has been shown, then they will join along with Jennifer Mason, who is, I'd like to welcome, as one of our panelists for the discussion after the video. So I'm going to turn it over to Denise and Tirza so they can explain a little bit how this project emerged and introduce the video.
Hi, thanks everybody for coming today. We are super excited to share our work, and we will be playing a video tonight because we started on this research journey together. We were working at Blaine Lake School together, and Tirza was out in forest school teaching her kindergarten grade 1 class. And when COVID hit, we were wondering, how could we be more intentional with bringing out our curricular objectives and meeting our curricular objectives, and specifically nurturing emergent literacy while we were outside in the forest. And as I was volunteering with Tirza's class, and I just saw so many learning activities happening and so much student engagement. And we thought, well, again, how can we be more intentional and set some of those goals? We heard about the McDowell Foundation and a grant so that we could specifically work together and focus on our work together. We met weekly to talk about things that were happening in the forest and things that we were seeing and how we could build on some of the things that the students were already doing and how we could make that grow and expand. And the video that we're going to show, it's about 30 minutes, but it is actually our research report. So what we wanted to do was combine the theory that we have been looking at from the research literature with our research findings and put it together in a way that we could show teachers how it can work in the forest, what are some examples, how did Tirza do it in the forest, and then at the end of the video, we talk about what are the different roles that teachers can take while they're out there nurturing that play and that learning in the forest.
For myself, I've been teaching in the forest for about 5 years now, and it was really great to have some interest from somebody else within our school to come out to the forest and see what we were doing. I was really, really excited when Denise approached me with this project, and we've just kind of flown with it. It was really great to have other eyes in the forest because there's so much happening. So to have somebody else be able to observe and kind of like help you dissect what happened. She was a good videographer. So all of the video that you will see in our video are because Denise had come out to the forest and played with us and interacted with the kids. So I really hope you enjoy it. We had a lot of fun working together on this project, and we're looking forward to continuing our research together.
Thank you to both of you. So in a minute, Jay, our technical wizard behind the scenes, is going to start playing the video so that we can all watch and learn from Denise and Tirza. You may have some questions as you're watching the video, thinking about any connections that you might be making to your own classroom, any questions that it might bring up for you, just any wonderings or aha moments that might happen for you. You're welcome to take some notes so that you remember them for afterwards when we get into the panel discussion. If you're choosing to use the chat, you can use the chat, but it may be distracting to some of the viewers because just seeing lots of scrolling and everything. So I would encourage you to try to type your questions, but not hit send, maybe. Or if it's just very infrequent, once in a while is not too bad. Or you can do it old school like me and just have a paper and pencil beside you. Take some notes so you remember for later. With that said, I'm going to invite Jay to get us started off. The video is about 30 minutes long, and then we'll have the panel discussion afterwards.
I noticed the kindergarten grade 1 class going out to forest school on a daily basis and began to wonder how literacy skills could be nurtured and developed in an outdoor play-based environment. Because of COVID, many teachers were beginning to explore the benefits of outdoor education because it offered a safer place for learning. The goals of our study were to explore emergent literacy skills within that context of forest school and to share examples of the teacher's role in supporting students' development in these skills. Being aware of these foundational literacy skills and how they can be nurtured outside within play-based learning allows teachers to become more intentional in developing these skills within this learning environment.
Our space is not extraordinary. It's just a windrow of Karagammas behind our school in rural Saskatchewan, but Forest School is truly magical. It's a place where stories come alive, where students' voice is honored, where learning is natural and creative and authentic. Forest School has become a treasured part of our school day.
Research has shown that oral language, listening and talking, sets the foundation for early reading and writing, and that in conversation, young children develop the language skills needed to make sense of print. Play facilitates that language development in that it provides so many opportunities to hear and practice and learn language and to use more advanced language. Recognizing the importance of place is also so important to providing knowledge-rich education. Nature-based education is place-based education, and no matter where we are, we bring our place and the history of that place with us. We really need to honor that.
In this video, we provide examples of 6 essential tasks for development of emergent literacy that can be facilitated in play-based outdoor education, and then we will explore what the teacher's role is.
Forest School provided opportunities for children to talk about what they want and for the teacher to extend their talk. Tirza played an important role in helping her students expand vocabulary, sentence length, and expression, and the students used language to describe their worlds, to create and engage in stories, facilitate problem solving, and in teamwork.
Right in the middle of the path were 2 big shoes, and the shoes went clomp, clomp.
Why is he scared too?
Why is she afraid of shoes? Because they just started doing this. Clomp, clomp. Do you think she would be afraid of that?
No.
Look at the picture. Does she look afraid?
Yeah. No, she looks surprised.
She looks surprised.
It sometimes feels overwhelming when so many kids want to share their ideas or discoveries or stories at the same time. The key is to really slow down and really listen. To honor each child, we must really listen to what they are saying, how they are expressing themselves.
What is a jungler? An adventure. What is an adventure, Ashlyn?
We're going to discover animals.
So you're an adventurer or a jungler, and that is someone, I'm just writing this down because that's cool, someone who discovers new animals.
Hey! Claire's actually mentioned to say discover animals that you've never seen.
Oh, so these are like brand new species? Wow, that's pretty cool. Did you find any in Forest School?
Yep. Come on, Allie.
Happy jungling! I just made up a new word.
These learning moments were captured because students knew that they could tell me what they were thinking or playing or discovering. Other students also knew that they needed to wait while I finished a very important conversation with someone else. This teaches them that everyone has a voice, that everyone has ideas or thoughts that are worthy, that when it is their time to share, they too will receive the same attention.
When she was startled by a very huge orange and very scary pumpkin head. And the head went...
Yes, I'm right.
Boo, boo. You were right. Did you see it in the picture before?
No, I kind of saw. Look, I kind of saw.
Yeah. What's really...
I wish we could stay out all day today.
I want to sleep in here.
I think we should have a nap in here. I think that's a great idea. We could like set up a hammock right there. Do you guys know what a hammock is?
Oh yeah.
So a hammock is like made out of fabric, and it's like a bed, and it like ties on one tree or like a support, and then it ties on another support, and you can just lie in it.
In Forest School, while they dramatize their stories, students begin to grasp what makes a good plot, how to flesh out the characters, and so on. These are fundamental aspects of creative writing that young children learn best through demonstration and action.
Another character joins us, Daisy May, and she helps set poor teacher up so the teachers can walk. Oh, but then she tripped.
Alicia, save today. You just told the teacher, stop falling. Teacher keeps walking. The kids help the teacher. I have a question for you guys. The things that happened, the takeoff, was that something funny or scary?
Funny.
It was something funny, so it was a funny story.
Directly drawing attention to story elements is important. Giving students the language to describe the parts of the story helps teachers to draw out more ideas for a student.
Once upon a time, there was a little old lady who was not afraid of anything. Who's our character? A lady? An old lady. That describes her. When did the story take place? Once?
Once upon a time.
That's right. Once upon a time. So that's when the story took place. Where does the story take place? One windy afternoon, the little old lady left her cottage and went for a walk in the forest to collect herbs and spices, nuts and seeds.
When she was going to the forest.
So the forest is the setting.
When
When did it happen?
it was a windy day.
It was a windy afternoon. So we know what time of day it was. It was the afternoon. And we know that it was windy outside. And we know that she went in a forest.
This forces kids to slow down as well, to really think about what they are hearing or reading. It helps them draw a picture in their mind or make visual connections to the words being read. It allows students to build on the oral language piece, perhaps bringing in new words, synonyms, antonyms, other words to help describe what they are wanting to describe.
It says that she was unhappy. What's another word for unhappy?
Mad.
Or
Sad.
sad. What is the feeling in this book?
She's not scared.
She's not scared. So you guys use scared. What's another word for scared? It's another-
Frightening.
Frightened. So frightened, scared,
And
frightening.
really freaked out.
Freaked out. Good one. Sebastian.
Hearing the elements of story gives kids building blocks to become writers themselves. There is pride when kids take off with their own stories, when they realize that they too can become authors, that the ideas in their heads can be transferred onto paper and shared with friends, now or in the future. It gives them power over language, and this is the good stuff.
Horatio, are you writing a book?
Yeah.
What kind of book is it?
It's a book about what people are playing.
It's a book about what people are playing. I love it.
Tirza facilitated knowledge of how print functions by following the students' lead when they engaged in writing that enhanced their play. For example, writing up a speeding ticket, looking for letter shapes in nature, or creating signs like bats allowed.
That's so cool.
So hold it like this so she can see it.
That's allowed.
Can I?
Where do you start your letters?
Yeah.
Where do you start your letters? If you're gonna start a letter, then you better remember to start it at the top. Okay.
This is my absolute favorite thing to observe. Kiddos grabbing a pencil and a clipboard with paper and starting to use print in their play. This happens so often. Kids want to describe their recipes, write their Christmas wish lists, practice printing their alphabet, or scribe their friends' names.
Get him? Are you gonna catch him? Okay, you gotta finish writing that ticket. Show me, what does it say?
Love it.
It's just a pretend ticket. That's okay. I love that you're writing in the woods. And I love that you're writing and it's part of your game. That's pretty exciting.
They want to make marks on their paper, marks that have meaning to them and to their play. Some kids are more apt to do this. Some kids will be inspired by their friends' writing and will build on it.
Okay, so what do you want me to write?
Did you get I found an L.
Let's see.
On a tree at first.
I found
Cute,
L
cute. No, now I gotta put it over top.
on
Cute. Those are adorable. When did you get those?
tree in forest.
Do they fit great though?
Perfect.
Love them.
Cool.
And my new boots are coming in the mail, Daisy.
You're welcome. Make sure you put your name on that so I know who wrote that or whose idea that was.
Like roll over and
Nice.
At home, they notice their caregivers writing cards or grocery lists or invoices. They notice me even using my clipboard to document their ideas and words. They want to do it too.
Can I write that on here?
Yeah.
So at Halloween, I will hide. What are we hiding again? Where?
all over the
All over the place. Can you tell me? That is a lot. Those are your words.
This just naturally lends itself to helping them with conventions of print, how some letters are formed, starting letters on the left and moving right, starting words at the top of the page and moving down, noticing when uppercase letters are needed, when labels are helpful, even observing letters to be found in nature.
And what is this right here?
That's the grass, and that's all to lead to that.
Perfect.
The grass has.
Can I make an arrow here and write garage so that we know what that is? Okay. So I'm going to do this. So this is called a label. And when we label it, it helps us understand a little bit better. So garage.
Wait, a bee.
What does a V say?
Wait, I think.
Uh-oh.
I found an eye.
Uh-oh. A real eyeball?
I can't see it.
No. What did you find? A letter I?
Young children have a growing awareness of the conventions of print and the concept of the alphabetic code. It's usually assumed that this next step requires instruction in phonics, that relationship between letters and speech sounds. It does, but first they must understand that what can be said can be written or encoded, that what can be written can be studied for its subparts, decoded, and that what can be decoded can be understood, comprehension. Tirza facilitated this understanding by encouraging her students to, for example, write the recipes they were creating, make a sign stating the rules of forest school, create a project manager plan for clearing out the cattails from the swamp. She brought Jolly Phonics and other classroom teachings out to the forest to be used in authentic settings.
A, B, C.
Should we go see if we can find him? Is he skating in a fast monster truck? L-M-N-O-P.
I'm doing that.
Good job. Q-R-S. Yeah. V. What comes next? W. X. Y. What comes at the end? Good job. Now I know my ABCs. Next time did you find that was quick?
Helping kids use letters in their play is very important. They are using written words in an authentic and highly engaging way. They want to write down their ideas. They want to include their friends on their lists and write up speeding tickets. They want to write their recipes for grass soup.
So what letter is that? It's like the same as your third letter.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, it's like that letter. Yeah. Do you know what that letter is called? This one right there? That's right. Remember?
They are engaged, they are joyful, they are authentic, and they are so very proud.
Yes. What is it? Like a Minecraft.
I know, but what's the next letter? It says What letter? You are making one in the snow.
Hey! F.
F.
I'm
Okay.
making one.
Okay, can you draw one? Good job. Okay, last letter.
T.
T, my favorite letter. So Lego. Look, Lego. Minecraft.
Yay!
Do you think you're gonna get that?
Kids are bringing their learning out to the forest. There was a ton of letter work that was done in the classroom before we even left the building, and it was authentically used in the forest setting. Jolly Phonics was part of our daily routine. Even though some kids came to kindergarten and grade 1 with a high number of known letters, many of them did not. And by introducing the letters and reiterating the gestures and the sounds in the forest, students were able to put learning into practice.
Is it only one bat or lots of bats that aren't allowed? So we need to add a letter to the end, and it says S. Good job. Good job. Okay, so no speeding. What do you think speeding starts with the letter?
So F.
You betcha. Yeah, so put an S underneath here. What letter makes F?
A, B, C,
You betcha.
D,
Yeah, right there.
E, F, G,
Oh, good job. That's a very nice P. Okay, listen to the word.
These are authentic learning moments that occurred in the forest that allow application and continuance from our classroom setting.
You know what? There is a word in there. T-A-B. Tab. 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 Do you know what a tab is? Like when you open up a pop and you pull that. The top part, it looks like kind of an 8, and you pull it in, it goes. That's called a tab. You wrote a word! You wrote a word! Awesome!
Students engaged in wordplay like similes. The wasp nest was as cushiony as a pillow, and took the time to study words, especially how to spell each other's names.
Totally unrelated. What is that?
A beehive.
A beehive.
Can I hold it?
Yeah, you sure can.
Can I hold it?
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna feel it.
sure. Feel it. Take your mitten off. Feel it.
Whoa, it's like cushion.
It's like a cushion.
I'm gonna put it on the feels as soft as a pillow.
It feels as soft as a pillow. Here's your mitts and back. Yeah,
My
good
hand's
job.
freezing as a dice.
Your hand is freezing like an ice cube.
Feel it.
Yeah.
It's cushiony.
Oh,
Cushiony? I like that word, cushiony.
Again, slowing down and really listening to what kids are doing and saying is key to helping them pull words apart and play with language. Language is fun. Kids say funny things. Learning can be fun as well. Sometimes we give them new words, like vocabulary. Sometimes they make up new words, like jungling. Sometimes they mix up words, verb tenses, pronouns. Sometimes we use invented spelling or nonsense words.
what is that? I was going to say your words helped me realize what your French was. Boot. Boot. Good spelling. How would you spell boot?
There's a T at the end.
You betcha there's a T at the end. How about boom?
Has a
Okay, come sit beside me and tell me what this is.
UFO.
UFO. How do you think you spell U-F-O? How do you think you spell it? What's the first letter? Yeah. So U. Okay. Oh, okay. That was pretty easy. You think? Okay, so my question to you is, do you know what UFO stands for? So when you use the first letter in a word, it's called an acronym. So this is unidentified flying object. So U starts the word unidentified, F starts the word flying, and O is the first letter in object. So it's an unidentified flying object. So tell me about
Always try to introduce explanations as students are willing to accept it. Reiterating words, saying things in the correct way or tense, reinforces language in a loving and kind way, honoring their developmental stage. But know that they are never too young to learn about acronyms or similes or upper and lower case letters or antonyms or anything else really. They won't pick it up unless we say it to them, and they will respond, sometimes weeks, even months later, with this word that seems to have appeared from nowhere. Ah, but it did come from somewhere. You were continuing to teach them a love of words when you were scribing their ideas and their invented word, adding labels to their picture, and honoring their voice. Their words matter. Their ideas matter.
No, it's polar bear and penguin. Actually, penguins would be ice and polar bears.
Oh, so I'm going to write that down. So you said polar bears are with ice? No, polar bears are with snow. And penguins are with ice. What's with lava?
Probably ice.
Or what kind of animal would go with lava?
Probably.
No, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Ooh! Did you just hear what Juliet said? Dragon.
Okay, probably that is it.
Yeah, that's a great idea because you sure can. Because dragons breathe fire. I love that. Dragon is with lava, and that is Juliet's idea.
The ability to search for meaning is greatly enhanced by the experience of creating it. Telling stories and engaging in dramatic play involves so many different genres and different types of linguistic transactions that the young storytellers gained a variety of skills that supported the reading process.
I do have to spell I with my fingers.
What letter would say? D. D. Nice. Be nice. Be safe. Be kind. Are these the rules for Forest School?
Yeah.
I love it. Do you want to write your name on there?
Yeah, and then we can put on one of those.
I love it. I love it. Maybe we could get everybody to sign this. They could write their names on it so that they remember what all the rules are. Do you think that would be good?
Yeah, and let's see. We did put this one where the trees on. Say that, so you won't have to say it.
Oh, that would save me a lot of words.
Do you? Because it says be safe, be kind, and be you want me to write my name? You can sign it. You want to?
Yay, we wrote a word.
2 words.
You wrote 2 words and then we wrote one together. Awesome.
Oh, that way
you go.
Yay!
Yay. Oh, you love that paper, don't you? That's good. Good work. I'm proud of you. I love that every day you grab a clipboard and you want to write words. That's awesome. Because you know what? You're like me. I have a clipboard and I write words.
This last clip says it all. I love seeing my students incorporate writing into what they are doing outside in Forest School. Seeing kids authentically engage in reading and writing in the forest is absolutely beautiful.
Boys and girls, I want to applaud you. Do you know what that means? I want to give you like woohoos because you guys did some amazing work today. First of all, I talked with some kids that were making signs because they were pretending to be bats living in the woods at nighttime. And so they made signs to welcome bats, to say all the bats are welcome. And then somebody wrote a sign that said, no bats allowed. So I really, really love when you guys, Tate and Sit, or AJ, I love when you guys incorporate writing into what we're doing outside in Forest School. The other cool thing that happened was my boys that were playing with sticks. I love how you guys accepted what I had said and you guys started playing the drum. That was a beautiful moment and I'm very, very proud of you for doing that with me.
For the longest time, it was thought that play was the realm of children and that adults should not interfere. We now know that adults can and should be a part of children's play, and that adults are just as important as other children when it comes to learning new skills and figuring things out. When teachers join in their students' play, instead of imposing their understanding of play, the learning that happens can be powerful. Teachers can take on many different roles during dramatic play. How involved teachers are will depend on what the learning intention of the experience is and how children are interacting. The teacher role of onlooker involves standing back and observing the play and learning that the students are engaged in.
You always get pulled into the play.
I do. And Sophia just invited me to go play.
She invited her to go play.
Should we go play?
Yeah.
So can Miss Realkoff observe, or will she be pulled into the play? We shall see.
Dun,
Dun, dun.
It's important that we step back to provide students with uninterrupted time and space to play freely.
I'm gonna put mine in my.
Good idea.
Tirza, despite her best intentions, was admittedly not very good at doing this and was mostly drawn into the play, which the students loved.
Gonna go to the city?
Yeah. Want to join us? No, it's trying to.
Do you want to join us? Yes, I do. Okay. Where am I gonna sit? Can I drive?
No, you go right here, Mrs.
Fine. I get to drive. Woohoo! In the role of stage manager, the teacher gathers materials, makes props, constructs costumes, organizes the set, and makes script suggestions. At the beginning of the school year, we started out with a plastic, white wash bin with a few items, some pencils, paper, and clipboards. By spring, our materials needed an entire wagon. Having materials for students to use is imperative, especially if you're wanting to foster a love of language. Scraps of paper, pieces of cardboard, sharpened pencils, whiteboards and markers, and crayons were essential. However, we added other fun items to add to their dramatic play, such as pots and pans, funnels, sieves, wooden spoons, random plastic containers, tools, and magnifying glasses into our wagon. Additionally, students used found items such as tires and old desks to add to their physical environment. Adding a variety of material engages students in new ways. When teachers take on the role of co-player, they assume a role, mediate dialogue, and define roles and responsibilities of characters. Part of my role is to engage in play with them. When I am able to set my clipboard down and immerse myself into their play, I really get an understanding of where they're headed with their play.
Okay, I'm driving. Can I pretend to be an old person?
Yes.
Oh, my aching back, Sonny, be careful. Ouch, ouch. Okay, I'm gonna try and get
We
it.
got the ambulance.
Oh, we got the ambulance for the old
The
lady.
red one.
Okay.
We'll take it to the station. Yeah.
Where are we going? Hey,
I want a Happy Meal.
okay, hold on. This is what it sounds like when you get to McDonald's ordering thingy.
At the Okay.
Can I take your order?
Yes.
Sometimes kids take the lead, and I follow. Sometimes I get to guide the play. It really is an honor to be invited into their world of play.
And I decided to have a nap because
They love being silly. They love it even more when you are silly with them.
you covered me up with snow. And then when you covered me up with snow, I became...
A snow monster.
Yes!
They want to laugh with you. Essentially, it is relationship building. They trust you, and they want you to be a part of their play and fun. This is what they will truly remember.
Oh, yummy.
hot sauce.
Don't eat hot sauce!
The teacher role of play leader involves introducing conflict, facilitating dialogue, and helping students to solve problems. This next clip shows an example of how I redirected a game of zombie killing. The love net works on everyone.
I'm gonna put a love net over top of you. The love net got you. Nope. This is the strongest love net. And it makes you not a zombie anymore.
Now you're a zombie in a circle.
Oh, I have the love net.
I have another one.
Would you like the love net?
Yeah. I wanted it in the next house.
Do you need the love net?
I fell asleep.
I'm giving people the love net so that the zombies can't get us.
Give me the net. Doesn't work.
Oh!
I fell asleep. The love net doesn't work.
The love net does work. Oh, you're not a zombie anymore.
Our hope is that sharing our research will highlight how easily the work that you do in your classroom can be transferred into an outdoor setting, even enhanced in Forest School. Nurturing emergent literacy and language development in an outdoor setting is authentic and engaging. The journey for students unfolds naturally and at their own pace. They are naturally drawn to include script in their dramatic play when they are ready. They are chefs and astronauts, police officers and snow monsters, junglers and teachers. They can include literacy in each role and so many more. This work is joyous and absolutely achievable for any educator. We also hope to remind you that the work you do is so very important and powerful. You get to teach children to love language and words and stories and play. You have the potential to be silly and to have fun, to bring joy into your teaching, to foster a love of the natural world, to forever shape a love for Mother Earth. You can support emergent literacy in an outdoor space. You can do this.
Thank you so much for your interest in our work. Stay tuned for our next project, Inspired Writing in the Primary Grades, Stories from the Forest.
Thank you so much for that video. That was delightful and brought a lot of joy to my heart. I hope it did the same to our attendees. So we are now going to go into just a panel discussion. I'm going to start off by introducing Jennifer Mason a little bit more, who is one of our provincial facilitators who works with our STF professional learning provincial facilitator community. It must be getting late tonight. I can't say those things. Jennifer has recently helped us build a new workshop about outdoor learning in the early years. And so it aligns really nicely with the research that Tirza and Denise have conducted. And so, yeah, I'd like to, I guess, just give Jennifer a minute to say hello and offer any welcomes that you're.
Thank you, Nicole, for introducing me. Also, thank you to Ellen for inviting me tonight. I just wanted to say, Denise and Tirza, you did a beautiful job of your video and your research. I'm very fortunate to have been able to spend a lot of time in Tirza and Denise's forest, being in the same school division as them. So I just warms my heart getting to watch the video and see your dreams come to life, because I know that is your passion. So thank you for including me tonight.
Wonderful. So I'd like to invite our attendees. I'm sure as you were watching that video, you had some questions, some concerns, some ahas, some moments that warmed your heart as well. So I would like you to invite you to post some of your questions or comments in the chat. And as we go through, we may not be able to address all of the questions, but I will do my very best to address most of them. So I'm going to give you, we're going to start with kind of a quick chatterfall. So those of you that have a question, I'll give you a minute to just type it into the chat box. And don't press send until I ask you to. That should get us started. Hopefully we'll get some questions. Okay, if you have something typed in the chat, go ahead and hit send. And we'll see. Should be working. I've sent mine. Can everybody else send theirs? Should have permission. Not seeing it. Okay, we'll get started with my question. How did you get approval for this project? And I guess in thinking about that, I'm thinking about administrators who might have safety concerns or parents who are concerned. What were your first steps?
So when I decided to go into the forest, my very first year, it was 2017, and I had a very, very rambunctious group of kids. And that saying that if you take the walls away, there's not walls for them to bounce on. That I had heard that before, and it was like bouncing around in my own head. And so we would just go outside, and it felt, it wasn't very intentional. It felt like we were just going outside to play, which was an important thing for my kindergarten students to do as well. However, these kindergartners were also needing a little bit more. And so as we were, that's okay. As we were staying outside a little bit longer, it was a conversation that I had with my administrators. And I said, this is something that I think is important. And there was quick buy-in from my administrators. So the whole process was really easy. At the time, we were using Seesaw as a way of communicating with our families. And so I would post lots and lots of pictures of the cool things that we were doing and the learning that we were having. And the kids were having fun. They were coming home and telling stories. They were bringing things from home of some of the forest things that they were doing. Parents were sending pictures. Parents were on board. My administrators were on board. It was now just a matter of me making it more formal. And so then I made a promise to myself that we were going to try to be outside for at least 1 hour every day. And so that's kind of how we got rolling, and it's kind of continued that way. This year, we've kind of changed our routine, and we spend most of our afternoons outside. The only time we're not outside is our school policy is -26. If it's -26 with the wind chill and the temperature, we stay inside. And we don't like those days. We all want to go outside, and the kids are asking, when can we go outside? So the kids have bought in, the parents have bought in, my administrators have bought in. So it was just almost a no-brainer for me.
Jennifer, what advice might you give, or what steps did you take when you started bringing your students outside?
I was in a bit of a different situation than Tirza. I had my homeroom pre-kindergarten class, but I was also having to take kindergarten students in the afternoon, and I didn't have a classroom for them, so I had to share with pre-K. And so I started just taking them outside to use as their classroom, and it became a positive space for students that maybe weren't leaders in a traditional like Eurocentric style classroom, but they were then taking the lead outdoors. And so I found it to be a successful space for those students that may not find school their favorite place to be, I guess. The outdoor time started to be the time they looked forward to and the time they really shone. So
I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So we do have some other questions that have appeared in the chat. So the first one are, what are the biggest obstacles that you have faced in implementing Forest School?
Well, weather is not on your side. And oftentimes our kids don't come to school ready to be outside. So this is a bad time of year because in the morning it's really cold. By the afternoon, they're running around in t-shirts. So that makes it difficult because kids are already thinking, oh, it's going to be plus 20 this afternoon. So they're not ready to be out. So I would say that clothing is also an obstacle that we've encountered. We also have a classroom wardrobe. So we have lots of extra ski pants and we've got extra boots that have been donated. My daughter's grown out of many things. So we just kind of have a clothes box that we share, and we have laundry facilities at our school. So as at the end of the week, I'll just gather everything up that the kids have used and we do the laundry there. So I would say that inclement weather and definitely not having the right clothing were our biggest obstacles to overcome.
Jennifer, what obstacles might you have faced?
I agree with the clothing. Lost and found bin at the end of the year instead of taking it to the donation bin is rummage through and take out what you can. Another one is making, I guess, aware adults of the learning that is going on. And it depends on administration and parents and other teachers in the building, like, oh, you're just out there and you're not really doing anything. And so having to bring that learning to light for them. So through documentation, through stories, through student voice, I think is really important to show what the forest does. Just an example of that, last week, I had a student that hasn't connected with anyone yet. They were always by themselves. And last week in the forest, they got yelled at across the forest, come cook with us. And she literally said, me? And they're like, yeah, you. And she said, I have a friend finally. And the EA with me said, that would have never happened sitting in a desk in a classroom. And I'm like, I love that you just said that. Like, the forest is a magical place for many reasons, and like social skills and friendships is just like one piece to it. So I think we're always so worried about those core academic skills, and we forget that it's a holistic development of a child. And I think the forest is a great place to bring that holistic piece out for children.
Tirza has really done a great job of making that learning explicit through her parent communication as well. So she has a class seesaw, and she will often post pictures and just explicitly name the learning that's been happening in the pictures and what they did today. And the parents of Blaine Lake have really come to value what is happening in the forest. And they talk about the learning now. They have kind of the words to describe it because Tirza has shared what they're doing and the learning that's happening through pictures and through explicitly naming that learning and objectives that they're meeting through her seesaw connections.
I also notice that you might be working on one subject, but lots of the subjects are layering on top of each other. So as we're practicing our letters and sounds, we're also practicing turn taking because there's only one Ms. Realkoff to like scribe. So they're learning to wait their turn, or they're problem solving. Oh, she's busy. I can go ask this adult, or I can ask this other student. So I feel like there's so much learning that we even miss because it's so busy, and the learning is just beautiful. And like you said, Jen, it's holistic in nature. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, it's really important to be observant and then to make the learning that you see visible to everybody who sees it.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have anecdotal notes. So every day I have a little square with everybody's name in it. And I just kind of like jot down like key points of things that they're talking about. When I first went out, I just had a clean sheet of paper and I was like fervently trying to write, and you cannot capture everything. Even with the video documentation, I was like, oh, did I say that? Did we do that? Like, you miss so much. So just to focus on those key points is pretty important. But that documentation is really important too, because then you can look back and, oh, we have a theme of dragons, or we have a theme of cooking or measurement, and you can start layering in some of your teaching that you do inside, and you can bring some of those books outside, and you can do some of that teaching outside as well.
You also make it explicit to the students as well, in that in the video you saw the circle at the end where Tirza pointed out, you know what I saw today? I really loved this, and I saw this was happening, and these kids were, you know, you guys were over here doing this. And so at the end of each forest school time, they come together and they talk about the learning and the play that was happening, which is really beautiful. Yeah. So she's celebrating her students out in the forest with them. It was really wonderful.
That celebration's amazing. So some pieces of advice that I've heard you mention already, one would be to have extra clothing available. Another is document everything and share it with people so they see the learning and they see what's happening, including the students. And then I heard you also mention having on your clipboard, like specific, all the students' names, so that you can really make sure that you're monitoring all the students, not just the most maybe extroverted ones that you're going to notice. Actually, what other piece of advice might you give to somebody who's starting out?
Get a wagon. Jet's laughing because I never had a wagon for the longest time. I was hauling like milk crates and kids were carrying stuff out. And I just happened to ask admin, do we have anything? And sure enough, in the back shed, there was this really terrible wagon, and the wheels were flat. So we used the wagon with the flat wheels for a couple of days, and I was like, this is not working. So we ended up getting that repaired, and now we have milk crates to organize all of our materials. But the kids love that too, because we go to the shed, we unlock it, we take it out to the forest, and they have such pride and of ownership of that. Like, they want to keep it tidy. They want to make sure all the supplies end up back there. They want to safely stow it. So getting a wagon, I think, is also really helpful, depending on how far away your forest is. I know some of the inspired learning opportunities that I've been a part of, we have forest school practitioners who they go for quite a hike to get to their spaces, or they go to various spaces within their area. So I think that that's an important piece to have is a wagon. Yeah, get a wagon.
Or we started with a little bucket.
We did.
Yeah. And it's surprising how much the kids will just choose to go and get materials from the bucket or the wagon, whatever you have. And it's not always, you don't always set a learning target. Sometimes you do, just to kind of direct things, like reading the story, Tiny Perfect Things. And, you know, today we're going to, in forest school, find tiny perfect things. And so sometimes there's that direction, but there's also that free choice, this bucket of materials. There's, you have pots and pans and magnifying glasses and just a bucket,
steering wheel
of, you know, scraps of paper on clipboards and pencils and crayons. And it's just there, and the students just gravitate to it, and they are free to choose whatever kind of materials that they would like to enhance their play. And just having that choice of things.
And they have the choice to, for example, look for those tiny perfect things, or they have the choice to be pirates. They have the choice to play hide and go seek. They have the choice to play tag. They have the choice to find a quiet sit spot as well, whatever it is that they're needing. And my goal, and I do sometimes, well, I do fail at this, I try to get to every child that's out there. Sometimes it happens, sometimes you get really immersed in, I don't know, playing McDonald's drive-through, and you go with that. And oftentimes as you're playing with them and you're observing them, you'll see kids filter in and then they'll filter out and then they'll come back to the play. You'll have like 90% of them playing with you, or you'll have just 3. It depends on where they want their learning to go that day.
Just looking at the way that Amy worded this, to someone that may be reluctant, I guess I would look at why you are reluctant. Do you dislike outside? Are you worried about your students staying within a boundary? Are you worried about wild animals coming? Like, I think you have to get to what that reluctant piece is and then move forward with it. And I think starting small, a teacher I know hated outside, but she saw the benefit of it for students. So she decided to commit to 1 hour every week. At this time, we're going out for 1 hour, no matter what, whether I want to or not. And over time, she began to love being outside. So I think it's about just committing, even if it is 1 hour a week or 1 hour every 2 weeks, just getting started. And I think the more you do it, the more comfortable it feels. Because I think of 6 years ago when I started this, I went out with like every minute plan. This is what we're going to do. And then like over time, I just let go of that. And I'm like, it's okay. Magical things are going to happen whether I plan them or not. So I think it's just, you have to make a commitment and you have to look at what's making you reluctant to go.
Well, and even the students are sometimes reluctant. We had a kindergarten student who his first day in forest school, I remember him kind of standing there not knowing what to do. And he pointed to the playground structure and he said, can I go play over there? And Teresa was like, no, we're spending this hour in forest school, find something to do. There's, join in some play with the other kids. So he went from not having a clue how to even play in the forest to it was a favorite part of his day. Yeah.
So just try it.
Just try it. And like Jen said, commit. We're going to do an hour. Like yourself as a teacher, commit, but also with your students, commit.
I would also say, sorry, I was just going to say, I would suggest starting now. Don't think January 4th is going to be your magical day to start, because you're going to say, no, I never want to do this, because it is brutal out there sometimes. I remember we hosted an ILO at our forest, and it was April, I think, Jen, it was April. And I was expecting it to be a beautiful day. Well, we still had probably 6 feet of snow in our forest. And we actually went on the other side of the forest. So we were blocked by the wind so that we could be outside. So.
Sorry, and here's that ILO is a Prairie Spirit term. So that's just a professional development opportunity for teachers to attend and watch Tears' Forest School. It was really awesome to be able to do. Sorry, I'm thinking people are wondering what an ILO is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so that aligns actually really well with our other question. What is the hardest part for a forest school concept accepted by parents, especially in severe weather? So what's the hardest? Yeah, and how did you address it?
I don't know if I'm understanding it exactly correctly, but for me, I live in small town Saskatchewan. I live in the community that I teach. I have very good connections with my families, and I feel like we've built up a trust over the past 5 years. I have taught some of the older siblings, and now cousins are coming into the classroom, and I feel like we have good lines of communication. I think that relationship is really, really important. I don't know if that answers the question. So I guess, what is the hardest part for a forest school concept accepted by parents?
With the weather, you always say there's no bad weather. There's just poor clothing choices.
Yeah. And
unless you hit -26.
Yeah, and -26 is our number, right? So I really try and hold fast to that because I don't want to lose the trust of my families. We've told them -26 is our number. If it's colder than that, you can expect that your child's going to be inside and squirrely when they get home.
Yeah, so I guess my understanding of the question is, for parents that are reluctant or afraid or might be worried about their children's safety, building that trust with them is important so that they know you're not going to expose their children to, you know, extreme cold. I mean, -25 is pretty cold, but but that you have their best interest at heart and you're going to make sure that they're safe and they're cared for and they're supervised.
I think once parents see the benefits and see the engagement and joy from their children, they're totally bought in.
That fear goes away, those concerns. They
And we
magically
all
disappear, just like the magic of the forest.
Right, yeah.
honestly, Nicole, it is magical. And we do, if we notice a family, if we notice a student show up in magic middies, we just make sure that they have mittens. And oftentimes they go home with those mittens, and then families will connect, oh, the mittens came home, and we're like, it's fine. We want them to have them if that's what it's going to take for them to play outside at school and at home. That's a small price to pay for our kiddos.
Awesome. So, so we have a couple like practical questions here. How many students exactly did you have in class? I think I counted 17 in one of the video, one of the scenes.
So last year I had 6 grade 1s and 17 kindergartners.
Yeah.
So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we were really, really quiet, and there was a lot of intentional one-on-one side-by-side learning. On kindergarten days, it was more of a free-for-all. This year, I have those 17 grade 1s and I have 7 kindergartners. So it's about the same number of students. It's just distributed on different days. Yeah, it's busy.
So how did you manage to supervise that many students outside? Did you have more adult eyes on them, or did you take them out by yourself? How did that work?
When EA support is essential to being outside. And at times we didn't have that support, and we had administrators come out. So that would have been 3 years ago. We had Mondays, we had our principal come out, Wednesdays our vice principal came out, and Fridays our CERT came out, which I think was a wonderful blessing because they were able to see firsthand what we were doing, and they have trust in the work that we do out there. So when we do have a MIN that comes out, and they don't come out anymore, we have EA support, and we have students that have specific EAs assigned to them for various reasons. But we also have set up boundaries, and that has been set up quite a while ago. Basically in this summertime, of course, the grass grows up. So when we come back in the fall, we whippersnip our area, and the kids know don't go into the long grass. So it's a natural boundary that we have set up. And then we've also tied a little bit of pink surveyor's tape on some of the tree lines so that the kids do not go out of that area. I trust my students. And oftentimes if there is an incident that happens, the kids will come to me and they will find us, but there's usually myself and another adult out there at all times.
Yeah, and with those kiddos that you did see in the video there, we did have EA support because there was 2 students that are diagnosed with autism, and there was several with learning disabilities and other special education needs, some gross motor skills issues as well. So some of the powerful things, like coming from a special education teacher, that we saw was that our kiddos with autism, we heard feedback from their parents that when going outside, their vocabulary like just exploded, and they were coming home with all of these new words, and they were so excited and sharing. And also one of our little girls that had some gross motor skills, she literally crawled to forest school. That's how much she wanted to go. She could not, she was worried about the snow crunching and her falling, and she was worried about her balance and stability. And by the end of the year, she was climbing trees, and it was magical. actually. Using Jen's term, magical.
Yeah.
Natural occupational therapy.
Yes, yeah.
Phys ed curriculum outcomes.
Yeah.
Jen, what advice would you give to a teacher that maybe doesn't have EA support or?
I think it's knowing your students and knowing your space, setting those boundaries. I know there are lots of teachers in Prairie Spirit School Division that do forest school that don't have EA support. And so it's thinking about the safety, making sure your students are aware of the safety, and it might be putting out physical barriers like Tirza had mentioned, the tape. I know some people put out pylons, different things just as a reminder, we need to stay safe. And I think students, if you have those conversations, they understand, they want to be safe. And they know that this is a special thing, like not everyone gets to do forest school. So, I mean, it would be lovely if everyone did. I think everyone should have to, but I think just making sure that they are aware of their boundaries.
And so how might you address it if a student did go past the boundaries or perhaps did something that was maybe somewhat unsafe? How would you address it with that student?
Having conversations with them, asking them, like, does your body feel safe when you're there? How do you think I feel when, you know, you're beyond where I can see you? What do you think your parents would feel if or your caregivers would feel if I lost you today? You know, I just think thinking about the long-term consequences of some of those dangers and bringing it back to a conversation with them. I think they'd easily come around to understand.
I have 2 comments about that. Before we even leave our building, I have signs on my door saying where we are. So if my administrators need to find me, I have a sign that says we are in forest school. So they know where I am, and I'm usually there within a predictable time. I always have my cell phone on me just in case I need to have contact, and my keys so that I can get back into the building really quickly. We also, before we even go into the forest, we have our standard 3 rules. And our rules I have written on the back of my clipboard. You may have noticed them in the video. Be safe, be kind, and sticks need space. Because they're kids, they're gonna play with sticks. And so they actually came up with that rule that we need to make sure that if we're playing with a stick, we need to make sure nobody's around us. And just this year, this one little guy, he's like, oh, Ms. Realkoff, rocks are dangerous. So now the rule has now become sticks and rocks need space. So again, having those conversations, it's so important. And I trust my students. I do. And when that trust is perhaps broken a little bit, we have those conversations again, like Jen said. How would you feel if you actually hurt somebody? Was that safe? And they have those conversations, they know.
I think there were 2 other questions. You mentioned you spend an hour outside a day and you don't go out past -26. So
I do go out past -26. We go out, no matter the temperature, we do go out. And we just determine like how our bodies are feeling to go back inside. Last year, my class had gotten up to spending 45 minutes outside when it was -40.
Wow. Wow.
So it just, but we built up to that and we talk about it. Like, if you're cold, you need to tell us. And we had to make sure like only our eyeballs are basically sticking out at that point.
Wow, that's impressive. Some practical questions as well about what did applying for a McDowell grant look like? Time, help us out with the details of how we might access McDowell.
So I think the application deadline for a notice of intent is coming up right away. I think that's the end of November. So what that is just, you have some ideas and, you know, you're really excited, which this whole process has been amazing. I'd say life-changing just to go through this research process together with the support of McDowell. So the notice of intent is coming up right away. And that's like a paragraph kind of just describing what you would like to do and what you would like to study. And then the McDowell Foundation, they have a review board that will review it and get back to you with feedback. So then you write a proposal and you're supported the entire way. It's like a kind of a 5-page proposal, just fleshing it out a little bit more. Ellen Whiteman has set up a Canvas course where you go and you meet and you chat, and she gives you details, and you actually submit your proposal, and the review board reviews it and gives you guidelines and suggestions for revising it before it actually goes to the actual deciding board, yes or no. So there's a lot of support, and I would encourage anybody who is interested in accessing a McDowell grant to just go for it and just see what happens. There's a lot of expertise in our teachers' classrooms. And, you know, we almost do research every day, but we don't have a formal process. And just kind of formalizing it and really digging in and having some release time to reflect on it, that was really powerful for us, just to watch some of those videos each week and say, oh man, like this is what was happening there, and how can we build off of that? And it's been amazing.
Wow. So if I were a teacher interested in the McDowell grant, I'd have time to start applying now.
Yes.
Deadline. So if any of you out there are thinking of it, now's the time. Yeah. Take a look.
And at this point, it's literally just a paragraph talking about your ideas of kind of a need or an inquiry that you see that you would like to dig into within your work in your classroom. And then the McDowell Foundation will support you the entire way.
That's excellent to hear. Excellent. Couple other questions before we wrap up. I'm seeing it's already 20 after 8. There are some other, I think we've talked a little bit about risky play. Reaching curricular outcomes was one. I think one important question, so there's quite a few in there, we're not going to get to them. One important question that I have that I'd like you to address before we move into our closing actually is, what's the difference between, there were a lot of terms in the video. So you talked about forest school, you talked about outdoor play, you talked about place-based education, and there's land-based education is out there. All of these terms are being tossed around in the educational world. So for those people that are new to the concept of outdoor education, what's the difference between a forest school, a place-based education, and maybe land-based education? How do those terms, how are they distinguished?
Well, Alex Wilson is a professor at the University of Saskatchewan here, and she talks about it actually on a continuum where you have kind of like that outdoor education piece, and then which is just going outside, and then if you delve deeper into kind of, this is my place and these are environmental issues of my place, and this is, you know, where I'm from, and we're going to nurture these environmental issues and things like that. That's what they call place-based education. So we have outdoor education, place-based education, and then the land-based education is very much focused around Indigenous culture, that relationship with the land. So if actually our next project is, we do want to, as non-Indigenous educators, strive to move towards some pieces of that land-based education. But what we're going to be doing is inviting some elders in to talk about the land and the relationship with the land, and sharing stories about the land. So we'll be inviting Indigenous voice into our work outside, so that as non-Indigenous teachers, we can try to step into that work and work collaboratively with some of our Indigenous knowledge keepers and elders in the area. But Jen might have some more to add to that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, land-based education is definitely reserved for Indigenous people. So we need to make sure that we are learning alongside or from Indigenous people when we are talking about land-based education. I am not an Indigenous person, so I do not engage in land-based education, but I have engaged in land-based education when I've been with knowledge keepers or elders. Forest school, you can actually become trained as a forest school practitioner, which Tears and I got to do together, which is really exciting, through Child Nature Alliance of Canada. It was a 5-day training and then a year online doing assignments and meeting with our group and whatnot. So we are trained forest school teachers. Forest school has specific relationships that it focuses on, and those need to be present for it to be considered forest school. And then there's outdoor education, which is outdoor education is more sport oriented. So like hiking, canoeing, biking, those types of things, which is great too. There's lots of schools that do outdoor education. So we just have to be cautious of the term we're using. Some people just say nature school too, like, because they're just outside. Like some people don't have a forest. As Marielle had mentioned, use what you have. Like everyone has outside. It just looks different, right?
I was going to say, I'm kind of saying we have a forest, but we're literally Carriganas and a few elm or oak trees. Yeah, we're really not a wonderful forest, but we are outside in nature. And when I think of my little people, like it's outside and it's a forest to them. And that's what that was the term that they came up with. And that's why we went with forest school. One of them wanted it to be like Disneyland World. And I'm like, we're not bringing in any mice, like we're good. So that was the term that they came up with, and it's just kind of been adopted year after year after year.
So Ellen's asking, if you're just learning outside, you're doing maybe reading a book, you're doing some math, some science, something outside, but you're not along Indigenous people and you're not trained in forest school. So Jen said that was maybe nature school or learning outside.
Yeah.
I think the only thing to be cautious of is the land-based term. Otherwise, I think there's different words for different people.
Yeah, I see somebody had mentioned that they do beach school, a friend that does beach school. I want to do beach school.
I want to attend beach school, yeah. So
we heard from a teacher who taught at a P3 school where they're not allowed, like it's in a urban setting, and she literally had a wagon where she would put sticks and logs in the wagon to take it out into their urban playground, and then they had to clean it up again at the end of each time. So there's some educators that are very committed to this work.
There are. I'm going to finish up by saying there are a couple of questions in the chat that maybe Tirza or Denise or Jennifer, you might want to respond to, such as one is the article you referenced at the beginning of the video, some of that information. And before I hand it over to Ellen, I'm going to just shamelessly plug STF Professional Learning. We do have an outdoor education cohort of provincial facilitators. Jennifer is one. We have 4 others currently as part of the cohort, and we are developing a few different workshops to help educators who want to start their journey on outdoor education, connecting to curriculum. How do we do it when all we have is an urban playground? How do we, so those things, so keep an eye out on the events website on the STF. And for sure, contact us if you want to hire us for your school. We will come out and train. So shameless plug, but we do have facilitators, and it's not me because I love learning outdoors and bringing my kids outdoors as an educator, but I'm not nearly at the level of what I would call an expert. So my facilitators are. So please reach out, take a look on the events website. We should be offering some soon. We were supposed to offer one tomorrow with Jen and didn't have enough participants, hint, hint, hint. So it was canceled. So please, yeah, keep an eye out. We'll offer more. Reach out if you would like something. And with that, Ellen, I'm going to hand it back over to you to wrap up our evening.
Thank you so much, Nicole, and to Jennifer and to Denise and to Trezell. This has been such a fun evening. And I keep saying I'm going to get out to force school, and this is going to be the year. I think the COVID restrictions are gone, and I think I can come play. So you can expect me to be out to play at some point. I will share with you just briefly before I wrap up. When I watched the video and I saw the children had made a McDowell sign, I cried. So that was so cool. It was so sweet that they did that, and I cried. It was so wonderful that the foundation has been able to support this work and to support the two of you through this. It's been so much fun. So glad you're doing a second year. I can't wait to see where you go with it. And I think I'm going to come play if that's okay. I'll let you know.
Please do.
I as well need to say thank you. I'm very thankful to my partner. If it wasn't for Denise, I probably wouldn't have braved figuring out a grant. She's really been inspiring to me and given me that that technical piece. Like I can do the play and the documentation, but she's really helped draw me out. And I'm so thankful for the support of the McDowell Foundation and the STF. Our school division has been wonderful in supporting our work as well. So, and I'm happy to share. Happy.
I do have to say that I've been inspired by you, and I got to hang out in the forest with you, and it has been just a really wonderful collaborative project together. And I would encourage anybody who is here tonight who has the tiniest inkling that you would like to apply for a grant to do it, because
And reach out. Now is grant season. So I'd love to hear. I tell everyone I have the best job in the world because I pick up the phone and there's two cool teachers like this on the other end going, I just have this idea and look where it can go. So thank you both so much for encouraging others to think about this. Thank you for the work that you've done. And I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. So, I mean, the mission of the McDowell Foundation is to fund teacher-led research like this. We don't want all of our research coming from Toronto or from New York or even from the universities, much as we love and appreciate our university colleagues. Research has to come from our classroom and from our force. And I'm so happy the foundation was able to support this work. Thank you for the three of you for sharing, and Jen for being pulled into our panel. I was so happy when you responded that you were happy to do that. It was great to have you and to have you be part of this because I know you have been part of this. Nicole, thank you so much for facilitating. I know this is your area and it was so nice to have your expertise here supporting that. And Jay, of course, Jay makes everything happen in the background. And I was worried about the video. He was seamless with it, as Jay always is. So thank you, Jay. Next Salon series is coming up on Wednesday, November 23rd, same time frame, 7 to 8:30, and information will come out on this. I'm excited about this one too, because it's the first time we've actually funded research on instrument band through McDowell. So it's looking at how band school teachers were impacted by COVID when they weren't allowed to use any of their wind instruments. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The foundation exists because we believe in the professionalism of teachers, and what a great example of that tonight. And of the need to ensure research comes from all of us. Denise, when you said we do research all the time and we just formalize it, I think you were quoting me because I say that all the time. Teachers do this all the time. So, but I want to take a second and thank our donors. Our donors is the reason we're able to fund this. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation for the in-kind support and financial support they provide to the McDowell Foundation and they provide to me personally, and to all of our volunteers who come forward and make these kinds of things happen. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening. With the permission of the research team, we will be posting the video to the McDowell website. So if you had some issues or want to watch it again or want to show all your friends, it will be available. And this evening will also be posted in about a week. It takes us a week to figure everything out. That's more on my end than anyone else's, but we will get it there. Thank you for the evening, and thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Thank you.